So, hey, everybody, it's Prince's friend, and today I have a really fun thing that I'm doing here. This is my very first post celebration 2018 interview, and I have a really awesome person here who's going to do this interview with me. His name is John Wesley Payne. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, and thank you so much for setting up the video last minute as well. I know that we had talked about only doing audio, but very cool. You know, we're a visual thing here on YouTube, so I do like to get, you know, the faces and the smilings. So a lot of people do know you from the shows that you did with the Revolution. That's what's blowing up your spot. That's what everybody's wanting to talk to you about and whatnot. Let's start there, and then we'll build off of that. I know that you played just those first 3 nights with the Revolution at Paisley. Is that correct?
Correct. Actually, that was at First Avenue.
Oh, First Avenue, not Paisley. Sorry. Yeah. And what, I guess, can you tell me about kind of how that came to be, how you kind of joined that group that was already kind of, you know, it's already its own thing, and now they're like, hey, John, we're going to add you into the mix now. You know, if you can tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it all came from, you know, my brother, Brown Mark. You know, Mark and I have known each other for a while. And, you know, when he kind of was just getting back into doing the music thing full speed, I mean, he never really stopped, but he had stopped playing live for a minute. And so when he got with my band, I was like the first person, one of the first people he played with when he decided to get back out and started playing live again. And so we just, you know, we had a bond from there. So he knows, you know, my work ethic and where I came from. And it's funny because we were jamming. He's like, man, I feel like I'm back in Purple Camp again. You know, it felt like he was rehearsing with Prince again because, you know, a lot of, you know, my discipline, work ethic, it was patterned after, you know, Prince and stuff, and just, you know, I just what I love to do. So I hear that a lot, that, man, you know, kind of like a slave driver. So anyway, you know, Mark and I had known each other for a while, and you know, just fast forward, well, you know, I think before that, you know, Prince called me, and he flew me out to Paisley and we jammed and stuff. It was just inevitable that the whole Purple Camp would come, you know, we would all connect. But to answer your question about the shows, yeah, as you know, after the unfortunate mishap of Prince's demise, the Revolution had decided to get together and do these shows. And as we know, they hadn't played in a while. And so, you know, they were kind of rusty. And like I said, I did an interview a while back, and so it's important that I say this, you know, like I said, not to throw shade or anything, because I'm not saying anything that they themselves hadn't said in previous interviews. If you go back, they'll tell you that when they got back together, they were rusty. You know, they were unsure of themselves. Their confidence level wasn't where it needed to be because they were just in a room playing notes, basically. Yeah. And
they weren't necessarily rusty themselves. Like, they're all musicians. They're all out doing their own thing. They're more rusty together.
As a band, exactly.
Right.
So, and, you know, they've always had that beacon to focus on, which was Prince.
Right.
And he was no longer there. So they were kind of like sheep without a shepherd, as I like to describe it, you know. And so when Prince played guitar, he had Wendy there backing him up. Mm-hmm. So now Wendy's kind of moved to the front. Well, it would make sense that she needs a guitar player to back her up. So
right.
They were rehearsing. I mean, before they rehearsed in Minneapolis, they rehearsed in Hollywood at SIR. And it was at that time, Mark was like, man, something's missing. You know, we need another guitar player. We got to have another guitar player, you know, because, you know, Wendy, bless her heart, she was doing her best to try to handle it on their own. A lot to handle.
Yeah.
So finally they came to the conclusion that, yeah, we need another guitar player. So they tried out a few of the LA people who Wendy and Lisa, I guess, wanted to use, and didn't work out. And so Mark had told them, hey, I got the dude. I know the dude who can play this stuff in his sleep. I know, you know. and so they were wondering who he's talking about. And so Mark is like, you guys are wasting your time. I know who can come in and just knock this stuff out. And that's when Matt Fink said, Mark, are you talking about John Payne? And Mark said, yeah. And so Wendy, Lisa, and Bobby was like, what, you know him too? You know him too? And Fink was like, yeah, I know him. He's good. And I know Fink. I know Fink because Fink called me. Once again, it was another one of those John Payne saves the day type things. They had a gig out in El Paso, Texas. Because Fink had his own band called The Purple Experience.
Right.
And so they had a gig in El Paso where the guitar player couldn't make it, and my name came up. And so he called me, and we talked a couple times, we hit it off, and then boom. And he's like, man, you're the guy for the gig. I already know. So I literally flew straight from my house to the airport and walked straight from the airport onto the stage and did the gig with them. No rehearsal, no nothing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we just touched on a few things at sound check, and that was it. And so that was the beginning of me and Matt's relationship. And so there, I know Matt, then I know Mark. So then it all kind of tied together when it was time for.
And that's kind of the interesting part about that, because it sounds like you knew all the different members, and yet they didn't even know that you knew all of them. Like, how does that even happen?
Yeah, well, I mean, the band themselves stayed in touch, but I think, they hadn't talked on the regular when they were doing their individual stuff. They didn't, I guess they didn't talk on the regular, but then, there was a time when Matt knew that Mark and I knew each other because we were all on the phone one day, all three of us, and we were talking because we wanted to do something. Mm-hmm. We're actually we were going to do the 25th anniversary Purple Rain show together.
Oh.
Yeah, it was out here, and I was fronting the band, and Matt had already played with my band together before, and so he said, well, hey, since the Revolution's not doing something, why don't we do something? And I said, cool. So he came out, and he played. So it was supposed to be him, Brown Mark, Eddie Minifield, and Victoria Theodore, who played with Stevie Wonder and currently Beyonce. She was also on the Arsenio Hall show at the time. She played keyboards, and then the rest of the members of my band. And so, but for some reason, there was a bunch of mishaps. So Mark couldn't make it. Eddie couldn't make it. Well, I shouldn't say mishaps. They were serious. I mean, Mark was going through some personal things, custody things with his son, and then Eddie's mom had passed. So it was like, okay, man, just stay at home.
Pretty major, yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty major. And I had to straighten things out with the band because we had this whole song list set of what we were going to do. Like, we had, all the more saxophone-oriented stuff. Like, we were going to play some Madhouse stuff. Of course, we had some of the Glamorous Life and Sheila E. stuff that Eddie played on, and some of the family instrumental stuff, like Yes, all the stuff that people don't play. We had a funky set list, but then when they were no longer available, I had to change all that. But it's funny how those of us who aren't band leaders, we take a lot for granted. More power to all the people who are sidemen in the business, because that's a tough bit gig. But I tell you, it's a hell of a lot easier than being a band leader.
Oh yeah.
To just show up, play, get paid your money, and leave, and you don't have to deal with all the other stuff, the logistics of setting up the gig, dealing with the venue, and all that stuff. So, but
good. So, and basically, when I was doing some research, preparing for this interview, a bunch of the different things that I found were referencing John Wesley Payne and the Hurt, featuring Dr. Fink. So, I assume that this is kind of what led to that.
Yeah, we did a series of shows together. It felt good because no one was really putting it down like Prince put it down, and then we came the closest to that. And Matt and everybody felt this felt the closest, and that's because just being brought up in that era and then working with the people themselves, I knew not to be half-stepping. If you're gonna play Prince's stuff, you can't be half-stepping. It felt very real and very authentic. But anyway, getting back again to the main question, I worked with those guys, and so when the situation came up where they needed another guitar player for these shows they were coming up with, they chose me, and I felt honored, man. I mean, out of the tens of thousands of guitar players on the planet, they felt I was the one suitable to do the gig, and I'm very humbled and thankful to them for that. And at first there was some hesitance, on Wendy and Lisa's part, and Bobby. Well, not Bobby, but so much Wendy and Lisa, because they never met me. And they're a very close circle. Those two, and so they're very guarded about who they let within their circle. And that's when Mark was like, "Listen, do you think I would just invite anybody to come play in this band?" Now you're like, now I'm offended because you're questioning my judgment, someone you played with for over 30 years or whatever. So anyway, they flew me in sight unseen, man. And it was the same thing. Walked straight from the airport right into the rehearsal studio, and boom.
That's really cool. And what was your takeaway from those 3 nights that you played with them? What was your takeaway from that experience?
Man, I got to tell you, the people of Minneapolis and the vibe in Minneapolis, I think that's what I took away the most. The love of the music that the people of Minneapolis have, man. They held me up without even knowing me. They just showed me love, and they embraced me and held me up. Even though I was in the back, in the corner, and supposed to be invisible, out of sight line, they still just gravitated towards me. And it was so powerful. And I mean, and Dave Chappelle said this too, but I can attest to it. I understand why Prince chose to stay in Minneapolis, because, it's when it comes to the love of music, the feel there is very genuine. They're very supportive of people who they love, and who brings things to the table. So it was cool, man. That was the biggest thing for me, because there were some pretty rough spots during that week there. And I don't want to get into it right now.
Oh no.
It'll be in the book. No. But there was a time when I was about to just throw in the towel on the gig, man, because I was like, the emotions was just like.
Yeah. I can only imagine. And
I'm like, dude, I'm only here trying to help. I'm not trying to, take away or take over anything. So, I mean, I didn't want anyone trying to, come at me sideways.
Yeah.
But like I said, there was the fans, and then the people in the crew, man. What happened is they reunited the entire original road crew from the Purple Rain tour.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. When they got back together, they went and got all the original people, the original guitar techs, the original sound and lighting director, Matt Larson, who worked with Prince for a long time. He first started out working with Jesse Johnson, and then he went and worked with Prince for years. All the original people, man, they were just so kind to me. And like I said in a previous interview, I think the one defining moment during my time there was day 2 when I was thinking about throwing in the towel. I was at sound check, and this woman came up to me. I didn't know who she was. And she said, "Hey, I was on your side of the stage enjoying your playing last night. You hit all those guitar licks spot on. I mean, you're just dead on it." And I said, "Oh my God, thank you so much. I appreciate it." And Matt Larson said, "Oh, John, you haven't met Susan Rogers?" And I went, wow, this is coming from the lady who recorded his actual guitar. So
yeah, exactly.
There was no bigger honor than that. So that made me feel 100% validated,
That's really awesome, definitely. And I've recently been to Minneapolis for the very first time, so I know I get exactly what you're saying. Like you step off of the plane and you just like feel it. It's like I came home and immediately was like, "Hey baby, should we think about moving to Minneapolis? Because like we could probably do that." And she's like, No, our family's here. Stop it.
Yeah, well, especially that week, because people were soul searching. They were looking to be healed.
Yeah.
And, everyone was still in mourning. And so the air was really, really thick, man. And as a matter of fact, it was so thick that each night I didn't even ride with the band to the venue. I wanted to walk because I wanted to just soak up the vibe. And so, our hotel was directly across the street from First Avenue. And so I'm like, man, nobody knows me, so I can walk over. It's no big deal. I was happy for that. Happy about that. But when I walked over, I remember I walked over to one night with Manuela Testolini. She came to support us, and people was like, "Hey, man, you're that guitar player that was in the corner, man. You was ripping, you tearing stuff up, And then let me get a picture. So it was really cool, man. The people there were just really amazing. It was an amazing experience. And
definitely, man. Next time you'll go and they'll know your name, and that'll be you won't just be that guitar player guy. People will know your name.
I've already been invited to come play at Bunkers when I'm ready.
Oh, okay.
So when I finish this record that I'm working on, I'm here in the studio now and I'm working on some stuff because I'm finishing up an album right now, EP. And so the moment that's done, I'm gonna definitely go out and do some shows here and there, and I'm hoping to make Minneapolis one of my stops for sure.
Very cool. Well, I mean, you kind of have to now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and like you've been going with John Wesley Payne and the Hurt for a little minute, right? Like you've got that band going. Again, I try to be prepared for interviews and stuff. So I went and I got one of your albums. I got The Journey. And because I wanted to hear what it was that you're putting out there. And I have to say that's some funky stuff. You're good, man. You're good. That's the one you got George Clinton on there. You got some you doing some Black Sweat on one of the tracks I heard. Like no, man, that's some good right there. Oh, wait, no, that's some good stuff right there.
Hey, that's the passion I want to hear. That's the passion. That lets me know you truly listen to it. So man.
It's a family show though, so I gotta say it the right way. I thought it was hot. I thought it was really good. Now, has anything changed? What was your career like before in the music and all that stuff, and what is it like now after? Has anything changed? Has that opened any doors for you?
Well, I mean, it's the same, man. I'm still on my same path that I was as an independent solo artist, and that's what I've always been. I've always been an independent solo artist. I think people have it twisted because sometimes they think that I'm a career sideman, and I've never been that. No disrespect to all my good friends out there who are sidemen and who make that their living, because it's a hard thing, man, to go trying to find gig after gig and play behind people, but I've always had my own thing, or as Prince always told Brown Mark, you have to blaze your own trail,
right?
And so I've always done that. I've also been blessed to be in a position to work with musicians who are both competent and confident enough to have me on their team to help enhance what they do. So when they call me, hey, I'm down. Like, for example, I had the blessing of doing a few shows with George Clinton. I think that was probably the relaunching of me, or as George would say, the re-rocking of a rock star for me. Because I had just got out of a really bad record contract with an independent label, and I was losing my love for the industry and for the music, because I was going through all this stuff with the label and the politics, and that's why I was like, man, I don't know how Prince does this.
Well, he didn't after a while. He said he was.
That's the trip, because shortly after I got out of my deal, this was in 91, 93.
Mm-hmm.
A few months later, I kid you not, a few months later, that's when he went through all that stuff with Warner Brothers. And I went, aha! So all that glitters isn't gold, and which ironically happened to be the name of one of his songs. So when he and I had a chance to sit down, we talked about that, and I said, I used to look at you and wonder, man, how does he keep going? I said, because man, I was in it and I was dealing with it and I had to get out. And I said I went through my emancipation process shortly before you did. I said I got out of my deal, and then like a few months later, you went through it with Warner Brothers. Anyway, yeah. And he's like, yeah. And he's talking about how tough it was. And said, being independent was tough. He admitted how he didn't have a lot of things in place. when he went and did this whole revolution internet thing. It was more of a responsibility than he thought it was going to be, with as far as getting product out there and getting product to people on time and everything, because everything was in its infancy at the time. Yeah, man, it's amazing. Everybody, he was telling me, man, yeah, everybody wants to be a boss until it's time to cut the check. Or pay the price,
Oh yeah.
And so he went into a couple of stories with me about someone who he really respects, Jesse Johnson. He asked me, Jesse, do you know Jesse? And I had not met Jesse at the time, but I did end up meeting him a few years later. And then he just started going in about what Jesse went through at A&M and stuff, and because he loves Jesse, man, and I think he was a little hurt when he left and did his solo thing at A&M or whatnot.
Oh yeah, we know that history.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, just getting back to what you were saying. Yeah, I've always been a band leader and had my own thing happening. I have a small little following of people who've always been by my side. I never, aspired to try to be this super duper cat. I just want to play, man, and I want to be in a peaceful environment to play.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
I
like that.
That's the way it's always been. Well, that's why I'm still here, man, because a lot of the cats who I know and came up with, the golden arch was, we got to get that record deal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, gotta get a record deal, that major label. Oh man, I want to be on Warner Brothers. I want to be on this, and I had gotten really, really close several times. Matter of fact, a lot of people don't know this, but I may have been the second or third person who was going to be signed to Interscope Records.
Oh,
the first artist they had was this cat named Geraldo. I don't know if anybody remember, but remember Rico Suave.
Oh, that guy, yeah.
Yeah. He was the first act to Interscope, and I was just finishing my album at the time, and this really, really amazing A&R guy, God rest his soul, his name is John S. Carter. He was an A&R guy at EMI Records. He's the one that was responsible for Tina Turner's comeback with Private Dancer. Amazing guy. He orchestrated all that. John Carter. He was the executive producer of that album. But he was a friend of the guy who I was working with, and he came to the studio and heard some of the songs off my first album. And he said, "Where do you see yourself? If you were to be signed to a label, where would you go? Who would you see yourself with?" And I said, "Well, all the A&R guys out there, this cat named John McClain, he's like the only person who I think would understand what I'm doing." And he said, "Oh man, John McClain would be fabulous for you." I said, "But where is he?" Because he had left A&M. He had just finished doing Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation album, which was huge. And then he just disappeared. And he was like someone who I would have loved to work with if I was to do a label. And so I said, "Well, where is he?" He said, "Oh, he's not at A&M. He's over at a new label called Interscope with Ted Fields and Jimmy Iovine. They got like $1 gazillion, but they have no artists." He said, "You'd be perfect." I was on a plane the next week meeting with John McClain, and John flew me down. I've never told the story to anyone, so this is a first.
This is good.
But he flew me down. We flew me down a couple of times, but he heard my songs, my demo, and had me on the plane the next week, and we were down there, and we hit it off, man. Because he's an actual musician. A lot of people don't know, and he's also, a lot of people didn't know, but he also managed Michael Jackson. He's the person that's responsible for getting Jimmy and Terry with Janet Jackson. And he's also currently one of the executors of Michael Jackson's estate right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so yeah, he's a heavyweight dude.
Yeah, he's a big dude, yeah.
And he loved my stuff, man. And so he flew me down, and I had just completed 2 other songs right before the trip. And I said, "Well, I'm going to take these and play them for him." And I played him for him on the spot, and he just loved the stuff. He said, "Dude," he said, "you are Jimmy and Terry combined." He said, "We got to save cats like you. There's no one more, very few of you left." He said, "I'm going to make anybody out there who ever passed on you, hate they ever met you. And I was like, whoa, it was heavy, man. I was like, oh, I think this is it. But it wasn't the right fit, because even though he was really gung-ho, I think it was Jimmy Iovine who was like, Jimmy Iovine is more of a pop rock dude. Bruce Springsteen, Tom Petty, he doesn't really understand R&B, hip hop, and rap. So that's why if you look at the early days of Interscope, they don't have hardly any R&B or hip hop artists, because Jimmy is not in the business of doing that. He wants hits out the box. He's not trying to get some black dude who's got to cross over to R&B and work up the charts, then cross over to pop. He's not into that. He want out the gate. That's why he ended up signing all these crazy groups like Marilyn Manson, Trenton Reznor, Nine Inch Nails, Lady Gaga.
Well, he's also he was involved with American Idol for the longest time. So every American Idol came, and immediately he was in charge of them.
Yeah, and that was later on. But during the infancy of Interscope, there were no R&B artists on there, and it was for a reason. So John McClane, he felt a little pigeonholed, because at A&M he had executive power to do and sign whoever he wanted. But there at Interscope, he was, he had people that was over him. So, he tried really hard too. I know this for a fact. He really wanted me on the label. But man, I'm so thankful to God that it didn't happen, because the label, as we know, started off clean. It was an artist paradise. But then came Suge Knight and Death Row.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They end up coming over there. And actually, Death Row is the label that saved Interscope, because Interscope was losing a ton of money and they were about to go under. So Dre and them actually came over there and saved that label. But I would have been caught up in all that. So yeah, it wasn't the place I needed to be, but I thought it was real interesting that I just came that close, so.
No, totally. I mean, yeah. And I mean, when you put it into context like that, you could have been hanging out of a window instead of Vanilla Ice. That was
exactly on the other end of a beatdown, but you know what? I doubt that very seriously. I think for sure I would have been over there cutting tracks for Snoop and working with Daz and them, because them dudes really respect the funk. They true funksters, and they love true musicians, and they love the funk. But I've always had my own thing, and I just was blessed to be able to go and play behind other people when asked. So
now, of course, with your new stuff, you have the new EP that you're working on and all that. So you're putting it out yourself, no label, you just own your own label now? Yeah,
I have my own label. It's called Enyap International. Enyap Music, ENYAP. It's basically my last name backwards. A little thing I borrowed from Oprah. So it's run by me and my good friend Eric B. Smith, who's a friend I've known. He's been my friend since elementary school. We're from the same hood. Yeah, we've been doing this. And so that album that you purchased, it's on that's my label that it's on.
And so you're doing mostly direct to your customers online, and that's what you're mostly doing. No distributor deals or anything like that at the moment.
No. I mean, eventually we might get into that, but I mean, at this point, it's not really even something that's needed.
Right. I mean, like you said, right? You have this core base of fans.
Yeah.
So as long as you're serving them, then it's all good, right? It's all great.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I'm really thankful to them for the journey, man, for supporting that last album, The Journey. I mean, that record did really well. I mean, I got offers to go to Europe, and there's people in Spain wanted me to come over, but I had a little girl on the way. So I had to shut all that down because I was really about to go all in and tour off the record. And so I never had a chance to. And so my daughter was born in 2007. She's 10 now. So now I'm back.
Okay, you can you love them so much, but they just ruin everything. It's
yeah. Well, no, actually, it was a blessing in disguise, man, because I think during the time I came out, it was a good time because R&B was still kind of trying to find itself. But I think during those times in the 90s, I like to say those are kind of the dark times for R&B and funk because hip hop had a strong presence. I remember, Mint Condition was talking about how they were just kind of fighting an uphill battle during the marketplace at the time because hip hop was just killing everything. Puffy, Death Row, all that stuff. I was blessed to be able to just kind of look back and just kind of watch things without having to be bumping my head against the wall because it was tough, man. It's a tough time. So if it wasn't for cats like Timbaland and Genuine or whatever, and then Maxwell, Jill Scott, and then the Roots kind of came out and redefined R&B, then it would have been really dark. But yeah, I feel good to just kind of be a fly on the wall and watch all that stuff transpire and then just come in and still be fresh. Yeah. Because like I said, a lot of my friends who had deals, they're burnt out now, man. They either don't have deals, are either not in the business, or they're either struggling to try to stay relevant and somewhere doing a Budweiser Superfest with 20 different other acts, or they're dead. Is either one of the four things. So I feel like I just started. It all feels brand new to me.
Well, that's awesome. That's a great place to be. Like, honestly.
It is. Yeah, it is. And now with this resurgence of the Minneapolis sound and live funk and people gravitating, it's like ripe for the picking right now.
Oh yeah, totally. So the Hurt, that's your band. Like, are those like key members of that band, or is it you and whoever you can kind of get together at the time?
It is an actual band, but I do have interchanging members. I have some amazing players that play with me. Some of the guys worked with Jesse Johnson and was part of his touring band during the Every Shades of Love tour. Mm-hmm. Also, some of them are currently playing with Larry Graham and Graham Central Station. They play with a lot of them play with a lot of different people. They some heavy hitters.
Very cool. So, you and me kind of met through the comments of my videos, which was cool. But it was during one of my more controversial ones that I had done on my channel, which is the why I'm not going to the bench memorial. I'm going to sit here and rant and gripe. And if I recall correctly, like I saw your comment and essentially said, hey man, there's a lot of people out there that are really just jumping on the Prince bandwagon after his death. Obviously, you're not talking about the revolution, I assume, but I'm interested in what those experiences you might have had since then. Like, you don't have to name names or anything. Have you run into a ton of people who are kind of just jumping on the bandwagon nowadays?
Oh, well, absolutely. Both privately and publicly. And I mean, I don't have to name names. All you have to do is just look and see, for yourself, who all of a sudden started popping up, after his death, who all of a sudden started writing books. Okay, I'll just say it, and stuff like that. Okay, well, why didn't you write it when he was around? Because, you knew he would have put a cease and desist on your ass. So, which he did to a lot of people. That's what I'm talking about, And then on top, locally here, man, I remember people kind of laughed at me when I did a Prince tribute show. It was like a joke. And one of the guys is an actual person who played with Prince, whose name I'm not going to name, but he knows who he is. I had invited him to come jam with Fink, Mark, and myself. And he kind of, yeah, nah, man, I'm not doing that. I'm like, okay. Now he's doing a Prince tribute band. And so, it kind of like rubbed me the wrong way. But yeah, man, out here, there's so many Prince tribute bands that popped up. I remember the day he died, I had all kind of promoters and club owners calling me. Those who kind of laughed in my face at first when I proposed the idea of doing that 3 years prior. Mm-hmm. They started calling me, oh, would you come to the club and play a tribute show? I said, no, because for one, I'm not trying to make money off of a dead man's name.
Right.
And for two, I'm just not in the place right now where I want to play. I mean, after he died, man, I didn't play for almost 2 months or more.
Wow.
Yeah, I think the first gig I did was Fink had called me to do a gig with Purple Experience in San Diego. They were playing the state fair. My head wasn't right then, still wasn't right. I mean, because I wasn't into it. I was just totally out of it. And then I think I did one more gig with my band, John Payne and Hurt, after that. And during a segment of my show, I played Purple Rain. And on the second verse, well, I know, times are changing. And I just busted down and started crying.
Oh.
And that's when I knew, okay, I'm not ready to be doing this.
Yeah.
And everybody else started crying in the audience. And that, because I think at that moment, that's when it kind of hit me that dude is actually gone. Right there at that moment, when I was singing one of his songs with the white cloud guitar in my hand. I just said, man, I'm not ready to do this. So I stepped away. And then 2 months later, that's when the Revolution called me. And that's when they asked me to do it. And by that, because they had announced the shows and I had thought about going, I was saying, oh man, this is cool. Maybe this will help with the healing process if I go to this. And then as it got closer to the date, I think a week before or 2 weeks before, that's when I realized I just didn't have the leisure to travel and go out there if it wasn't a business related thing. And because my daughter was starting school that first week of September, and there was just a lot going on. Right. But then lo and behold, that's when Brown Mark called me and said, hey man, we need you. I'm like, huh? You need me? Yeah. We got these shows coming up. We need guitar player and blah, blah, blah. So that's when we worked it out. And that's when I thought that the juice would be worth the squeeze.
Yeah.
To go and do it. And I went out and we did it.
So was there a reason why you were only part of the 3 nights and not the continuation of the tour when they decided to actually make it into an actual tour?
Yeah, there's a couple of reasons. I mean, I was really just contracted to do the 3 nights. Mm-hmm. And I was just to kind of feel things out. Like I said, that week there during rehearsals, there was just a lot of things that went down. And like I said, I don't want to get into airing dirty laundry, but that's when I realized, you know what? Let me do this and get the hell out.
Gotcha.
Let's go ahead, put this on the resume, said that I've been there, done that. And that's what it was. And we just chose to leave it as it was. Hey, would I have liked to have continued and seen it go where it should have gone? Sure. But that was part of the problem, because I saw that things weren't really on the track they needed to be, or that I felt they should be. And being that it wasn't my show, I had no say of telling anyone where it should be,
Right. So you were like, I don't really like where this train is going. I'm going to unhitch my wagon here.
Yeah, well, I already have my own train. So, I just, did a quick transfer, and got on the Purple train. And then when I got to the station, I just got off and got back on mine. So, because earlier that year, I had just signed an endorsement deal for my own signature series bass. So
that's cool.
I was already working on that. Matter of fact, if you go on my page, you'll see pictures of Brown, Mark, and Wendy playing it, because I brought it out there. I was so proud of it, And I also had Prince. I had one made for Prince, because I have one of his basses in my collection. And so I said, oh, man, wait till he plays one of my basses, And the sad thing is, he never had a chance to play it. He passed away before he could put his hands on it. So I have that sitting. I wish the camera was on. I would show it to you, but I haven't.
I wish it was too. I would totally want to see it right now.
Yeah, well, it's on the page. It's on the page. Of course it's Purple. It's on my Instagram as well. If you go to John_Wesley_Payne.
Yeah, I'll put links to the page and to the Instagram and everything, and to go buy The Journey, which was the last album. So I'll definitely put links to all of that in the description and everything.
Awesome.
So I do like to ask all of my guests, what is your favorite Prince album from his career?
That's kind of a tough one.
Yeah, I try not. I don't ask for the favorite song. because that's too hard. But I'm like, like album experience kind of like what album are you feeling the most?
Man, that Dirty Mind album, man, that I always go back to that Dirty Mind album because that record was just it was just dope, man. It was before its time, and it was just raw. It was raunchy, and you just never saw a black dude put it out there like that. And also just the way the album was cut, I think he had a home studio in his basement at the time, and it just kind of had just a dirty, grimy analog feel to it. All the twangy little guitar tones and all that stuff layered with the funk. It sounded like a demo, but it was just raw, and it was honest. I mean, I remember the first time I heard Uptown, which I believe was the first single off the record, and I was like, man, what is this? So it's probably a cross between Dirty Mind and Sign of the Times. And I say Sign of the Times because that's when you can hear the stretch. But see, then I'm forgetting the Parade album. See?
Yeah.
See? It's too much.
It's a rabbit hole. That's the question is designed to do that.
Yeah. So it would have to be between those three: Dirty Mind, Parade, and Sign of the Times. And because those three albums are definitive of the three eras that he, was in at the time. Those albums are definitive. Like the first album, Dirty Mind, that album was the breakthrough album as him as a solo artist playing everything. And then Parade was a breakthrough album with him and the Revolution, because then he got Claire Fisher and these amazing string arrangements and all that stuff. And then Sign of the Times was a breakthrough album because it was the precursor to the Love Sexy era. And that's when he changed bands and had Levi Caesar, all my folks from here in the Bay Area in the band, Bonnie Boyer, Levi Caesar, Miko.
Yeah.
And then of course Sheila on the drums.
Of course.
So so it was like, it was those three records, man, were like definitive records for me.
What are you listening to right now? And is any of it inspiring your new EP?
I listen to everything. I don't know if it's inspiring my stuff when I have the time, because I'm mostly working on my stuff, so my music takes precedence. But when I get a chance, I do listen to everything, and a lot of stuff I listen to is not the mainstream stuff. Like, for example, there's a cat named Son, not John, but his name is Son, Sohn. It's spelled like my name, but with an S.
Oh wow.
Son, Sohn. And he's a kind of he's a white dude, but he's soulful, and he does this kind of techno EDM stuff. I think what drew me to him, one of his songs was on an episode of that show, Power. I think the song is called Tremors. Then, of course, my girl from the Bay Area, she simply goes by the name Her. And I don't know if you ever heard of her.
I have, but only from you. So
I
heard of her because I listened to your interview on the Prince podcast because I didn't want to retread a ton of stuff. So I was like, let me ask him some different questions that he didn't get asked before. But basically, yeah, I went and checked her out, and I downloaded her album because I have Apple Music, and it's really good. It's really good.
She's amazing, man. She was my guest at the 25th anniversary Purple Rain show I did with Fink.
Oh, that's cool.
She came out on stage and played guitar with me, and we did Purple Rain together.
So do you have a message to any of the people who might be, watching this interview or anything like that? Aside
from the music and stuff, I just think that right now, what's happening across the nation and everything, man, I think it's time that we be a little more kind to each other and show some love to each other and be a little bit more united, man, because there's a chasm and a division that's happening in this country that I've never seen before. There's a wedge that has been drawn between people that hasn't existed since like Jim Crow almost. It's not as bad, but it seemed like it's going there.
Yeah.
And my message is to everyone is to just we need to try to be a little bit more accommodating and loving and understanding and respectful to each other. You know, that's my bottom line. When we see what's happening with, you know, the immigrant situation and stuff. I don't want to get too political because I'm a musician and I speak music, but I'm a person and the stuff affects me. So what's happening now is crazy, man. You know, and that's not how we roll over here. You know.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be.
Yeah. No. Yeah. So
honestly, I try to keep my channel all about the positivity. You know, I think that's a big reason why people come to my channels, because I'm not here to talk about the bad things unless I'm calling them out and saying how we can make them better. You know,
that's
what I mean?
right. Well, going back to what you just said about you calling things out, that's the thing that got my attention about the posts that I made the comment on, because I appreciated that, man. That was one of the most real things that I ever saw anyone do. That's the reason why I'm talking with you right now. Out of all the people that have approached me about talking, you know, I saw what you were doing, man, and it really made me feel good because I know it was coming from a sincere place, and I know that you're someone who's down for the cause and sincerely loves Prince and his music, man. And anyone who loves Prince and who's Prince's friend is a friend of mine. So
man.
That's why we're here right now. And so I really appreciate you taking that stand and calling those people out, because, man, there's just a lot of people faking the funk right now and trying to be down with Prince and the whole Prince movement who weren't before. And it's irritating. It's really irritating. And then they want to Columbus the funk now. Everybody want to Columbus the funk and take it over and be trying to own it and be the gatekeeper of this and the gatekeeper of that. When back when the man was struggling and writing slave on his face, they didn't give, you know, a rat's ass about him. They were sitting back. They were sitting back secretly rooting for him to fail, basically. And so that's why, you know, just knowing him personally and seeing the struggle from afar, and then also on the outside, on being on the inside, looking inside. I kind of know all the angles of what's going on.
Exactly.
So it's really good, man, when you see somebody who's, you know, taking a stand, and, you know, because I mean, you know, you were trying to get with these people and they were just acting real, excuse the words, towards you. And, you know, it's not cool, man. You don't have to be that way. I've learned something in this business, and it's really important. You have to treat everybody with respect. Okay? And I don't care if you think they're the cat that's sweeping the floor or mopping the floor or washing the dishes. You'll be surprised that it's sometimes the dude who you think's the little cat, he's the one that carries the most weight. And I learned that, man. I remember when I used to have my meetings with the labels, the first person who I would always become friends with was the secretary and the assistant of the head of A&R, who's you know, yeah, you might think she's just sitting at that desk, but she runs this man's schedule in his own office.
Exactly.
So, you know, props to all the women who I worked with and who I had meetings with and who were really sweet to me because I was sweet to them. And it wasn't under false pretense, man. It's just about being nice.
Yeah.
And being respectful to people. And, you know, that's another thing, too, in regards to my experience with the revolution. It's like a lot of people didn't know that I had a past before them, you know. And that's why, ironically enough, that's where, you know, me and Andre Simone reconnected, because I knew Andre way back in '88.
Oh, okay.
When he was producing Jody. And so, and he didn't, when I was in the room, you know, him, Des, you know, they came in and, you know, they didn't know me. Or at least Andre thought he didn't know me. And so I guess they thought I was a roadie or whatever. So when Lisa said, "Okay, John, come on, let's run the stuff," and so I went over there and strapped on my guitar, and we started kicking, and then I started kicking the parts, and I was like, "Oh, you know," and that's when Andre came over and said, "Hey, man, no one ever introduced us. I'm Andre," and I was like, "Negro, I know who you are." Like, we got history, and so anyway, we connected there. So I forgot the point I was making, but the point is that you just gotta be respectful to everybody, man, because you never know who's who. And so, and much respect out to Andre and Dez. You know, it's funny with Dez and I saw Dez at the funeral in Beverly Hills, at Prince's funeral. You know, everyone was there. Spike Lee, Tavis Smiley, Larry King, Arsenio, Nile Rodgers, everybody who knew and loved Prince was there. And it was just a small group of us. It was a private thing. It was so emotional, man. It was a powerful, powerful service. You know, props to Manuela for putting that on. Yeah. She gathered all these people together and did a really righteous service for Prince. Matter of fact, well, the video's not on, but I have the funeral program hanging on my wall. Me and Spike just kind of looked at each other and nodded, like, "Yeah, all right, man, I'll see you." And then me and Dez, we looked at each other and we smiled and we just kind of nodded, like, "Yeah, man, I'll see you again." And then months later, we're in the room jamming together. It was a powerful. So, you know, you gotta just be cool with everybody, because you never know when you're gonna run into people again further down the line. You know.
Agreed. So thank you. It's always good to know that what you're doing is being appreciated. So I thank you for acknowledging, you know, the stuff that I'm doing and letting me know that I'm in the right direction at least. So that's good.
Well, yeah, you are. I mean, I saw you just posted the new thing from the homie Jelly Bean.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he just sent that to me just late last night, actually. Oh man, I'm really glad you're supporting that. He's another cat, man, who has been really, really great to me. You know, we've become friends over the years. We met in Las Vegas. I was working with one of their contemporaries from back in the day. I was working with Sue Ann Carwell, who was like one of the first vocalists who Prince produced. Because she was also managed by Owen Husney at the time.
Oh, okay.
And she found me on MySpace. This is going way back. She found me on MySpace. She's like, "Damn, your stuff's funky. We got to get together. Oh my God." She's like, "Look, I'm going to Vegas. The Time is going to be performing at the Flamingo. They're taking Tony Braxton's spot. You need to come out there. I want to introduce you to Jesse," and blah, blah, blah. And so I went out there, and I just happened to be walking down past the Bellagio, and I see this tall brother with a hat on like the one I wear, and it was Bean. And I said, "What's up, Bean?" He said, "Hey, what's up, man? What's up?" And instantly, you know, we just kind of clicked. And so after the show, you know, we all went over and hung out at Caesar's Palace. The club was Pure at the time. It's something else now. But from that point on, we had been great friends, man, because as you just found out, he too is an amazing guitar player.
Yes.
So
yeah, no, Jelly Bean's really cool, and I did get to meet him at Celebration, and he was my very first interview that I had ever done, and he was really cool about it. Like, he was like, "Oh man, what am I getting into?" But you know, but he was really nice, and
he was your interview.
He was my very first interview, very much like this, where it's cracking jokes and laughing and just having a fun time. Like, I don't try to run anything too formal.
Yeah. I mean, well, if you see that, you know, that's one of the beautiful things about Bean is, in addition to being an amazing musician, he's just a really cool dude. And you know, and that's what really makes it work, man, in this business. Just like I was talking about, just being respectful to everybody, you know, because Bean never heard me play before. You know, when we met, he didn't know me. He didn't know I played. He's like, "Well, who's this dude hanging with Sue?" You know? And he just showed love, man. You know, and it's probably just not until last year when he saw me play with the Revolution that he knew I could play, you know. So, but shout out to Jelly Bean, man. I'm here supporting your record as well, brother. I love you, man.
Totally. All right, but tell us about your EP that you're working on though. Like what's it called? How many tracks when is it going to be out? Like tell us everything.
Well, I can't tell you everything.
Well, tell us as much as you can.
You're just gonna have to hear it, man. You got to wait and hear it. I mean,
man. When will it be out? When are you expecting for it to be out?
You know what? I wish I could be specific about that, but it'll be done when it's done. Gotcha. And that's the beauty of being an independent artist, because you don't have no label breathing down your back, no deadlines. It'll be done when it's done, because and I have to work that way because I perform with multiple people. I have a family, and it's not like back in the day when I was single, when I used to just crunch in the studio until 4 and 5 in the morning. And I remember I recorded with George Clinton. Ironically enough, George and I were in the studio together the night Roger Troutman was murdered by his brother. I'll never forget that. But we worked until maybe 11 o'clock or 12 noon. We started at 6 in the evening, and then we worked till the next day, 12 noon. And then he was like, hey man, we'll be back tonight about 6 o'clock. Come back to sleep about 6. I said, all right. And I'll never forget that Sunday. I was walking down the street. It was a Sunday evening, and my studio was in San Francisco at the time, and I was walking down Market Street, and right around Post Street, the plaza there where the Gap is, everybody was playing Roger Troutman music. And I'm like, why is everybody playing Roger music? What's going on?
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, dude, you didn't hear? He got killed last night. And I was on my way to the studio to meet George, and I said, George, did you hear about Roger? And he goes, yeah, I heard about it, and he went on and was telling me stories, because a lot of people don't know George is the one that produced More Bounce to the Ounce.
Oh.
Yeah, he just didn't put his name on it. George is how Roger got put on, because Roger was Bootsy's buddy. Bootsy and Roger grew up together, and as you know, Bootsy was hooked up through George.
Right.
And so I guess they made a pact that whoever made it first would bring the other in. And so Bootsy introduced Roger to George, and George got Roger a deal at CBS, which is now Sony. And then Roger took the master tapes and went over to Warner Brothers and got his own deal.
Oh, gosh.
And so George was talking about how, they had a falling out for years over that, because CBS thought George did that. They thought he was the one that orchestrated it when he didn't.
Oh.
And so, but yeah, it was just the stories that I was able to get from people who I worked with. It's an amazing journey, man.
Yeah, man, totally. And you know what? I appreciate you taking a pit stop to kind of talk with us about that journey. So thank you so much for being on the channel and all of that, and coming and talking with us. It's been an amazing interview here.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I'm glad to finally be coming out to the rest of the world. There's a few people in the industry that have known me, but the public at large never knew who I was, and I was quite cool. I'm quite cool with that. But hey, man, I'm here, and as long as we keep the funk alive, it's all good.
Totally, man. We're ready for anything you got for us. And like I said, there's going to be links to go purchase The Journey, which is John's album from 2006, I think it was. Well, very cool, man. Thank you so much for being here. And as always, may everybody live to see the dawn. Thanks for coming and watching. Honey, don't you know I will slap the waves out your head if you do not subscribe?